So the following year, virtually to the day, in the same field,
Wow.
this is the radio telescope. The formation I just showed you was here.
Hmm.
These two appeared. The one at the top was a face, like a
Yeah,
human or humanoid
that's
face, which you
amazing.
could only see from the air. And the other one was a that was pointing straight out the telescope, was based on a binary code message that was sent into space by the SETI program back in November 1974.
Wow.
So it was like a reply to that, but it had anomalies in it. And of course, the anomalies we looked at, which really sort of highlighted there was a communication. So initially, the face, you need to
Incredible.
actually get further back with this or squint your eyes. If you squint your eyes, it actually,
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
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 it
yeah,
becomes, it's like, black and white dots that you get in a newspaper.
yeah.
Close up, you can't see it, but as you pull away, it's the face of somebody.
That's outrageous.
This is very
Yeah.
much like a human face.
That's
But it was
amazing.
made of hundreds of circles of crop. When you walk in there, the crop only comes to about the top of your thigh. So, you're looking across the field, you haven't got a clue what that is. You have to see the aerial overview.
Look at that thing, dude. Did you box moving target? No, I don't.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Mystic Gateway Podcast. Again, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for all the likes and comments and follows. I really appreciate it. And shares as well. And share this with people that you may think would find it interesting. Today, I have a very special guest who I believe we may have met in person, but you attend. You've been to Company Burning Hearts with Justin. Justin's been on the show a couple of times, and he actually messaged me and said, "You need to listen to this guy, a friend of mine, Alan Foster." He says you went for lunch one time, and
That's right.
he says he'd love to come on your show, and I'm like, I would love to have that. So, without further ado, Alan Foster, thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
Thanks very much, Craig. Yeah, and thanks to Justin as well for passing my name to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, before you're going to give it like a presentation. You're going to actually give some slides and things,
Yeah,
which is brilliant because we're not just talking about crop circles, which is the topic of the day. You're going to give some evidences and some
yeah,
pictures and things.
yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. But before we do, just a little bit about yourself and how you got into this.
Well, my name's Alan Foster. I'm a writer, researcher, and lecturer on UFOs, crop circles, environmental and spiritual issues. I've been studying this or these subjects for about 50 years now, since I had a UFO encounter in April 1973, so at a young age. And that stimulated me to start looking at these various realities. But I've worked for 19 years in the airline industry, some of that working as a manager of an airline operation that provided the commercial transport for the US military. That was in the UK and the Mediterranean.
Mm.
Also worked in airline operations to international airports, which gave me access to a separate topic from crop circles, but it gave me access to speaking to a lot of pilots, about some very fascinating UFO encounters and things like that.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, so sort of from the early 90s, certainly started to have more like spiritual experiences, and then mid 90s, the crop circles, which I'll talk about this evening. And then angels and the Turin Shroud, which is, I'll actually touch on, believe it or not, with the crop circles.
Interesting. Yeah.
But perhaps, at another time, a bit more in depth on the Shroud.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love that. So, I mean, a lot of people who come out as whistleblowers and things like that, they've always got a military history. There seems to be a link with military and particularly Air Force, often the Navy as well.
Yeah.
Um, could you give us any info on what the sort of things the pilots told you back in the day?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I spoke to because obviously I was with the US, um, um, either Air Force or Navy, but speaking to people there, but also working in an airline ops, I'd speaking to pilots, quite regularly and would ask questions.
Hmm.
But one of the people, as a classic example, I spoke to was Captain Ray Bowyer. He was one of the rare ones that was actually interviewed on mainstream media, even like national news,
Mm.
about an incident that happened in April 2007. You may be aware of it. This was the where he was flying a Trilander, a small aircraft, from Southampton to Alderney, and then he saw the two 1 mile across disc-shaped objects off Guernsey. They were massive objects. His passengers saw them. The crew of another aircraft, Blue Islands aircraft,
Mhm.
and Jersey Air Traffic Control registered these objects on ATC radar. Um, he he's a really sound sort of honest guy. I spoke to him. I actually gave a lecture with him as well. But while I had the opportunity with the same airline company that I was dispatching these aircraft out of this airport.
Mm.
So I spoke to some of the other pilots about this after this came out in the media, asking what their opinion was of Captain Ray Bowyer. And it's so nice to hear them be really sort of were commending him and saying what a good bloke he is.
Mm.
And if he says that's what happened, then you can take that. And that was really profound. So and I've spoken to others, so many, but
Mm.
one more. I'll give you one more case. I spoke to a retired squadron leader from the RAF. And this is going back in 1966. He was based at RAF Akrotiri in southern Cyprus.
Mm.
And there was a sort of a large cone-shaped object floating way above Cyprus, moving very, very slowly. Now, he was scrambled to go and look at this, and he was flying in a Lightning jet, which at the time in 1966 was one of the fastest jets on the planet.
Mm.
So he had permission to go supersonic, so he blasted this aircraft up. He sort of 20,000 feet, 30,000 feet, 40,000 feet, which was the official ceiling for the aircraft, but
Mm.
he went right up to 60,000 feet.
Wow.
At that point, the air was so thin, one of his engines flamed out, and he went into a stall, but he was closer to the object. It was still above him, but he was closer to this object. He said it was like silver cone-shaped object, massive.
Mm.
It was at 168,000 feet above the Earth and
Wow.
was estimated to be half a mile across
Wow.
at the top of the cone. So it's a huge object. And when he looked at it, in that stall moment, he said there is no way was that made on Earth, and he sort of felt that they were looking down at him and saying, "Stupid human." But
Yeah.
so he then fell back to Earth. At about 30,000 feet, he could refire his second engine. Came back to the base, went through the usual debrief with the wing commander,
Mm.
saying, as so many others do, that you're not allowed to talk about this, official secrets and all
Official,
that.
yeah, official secrets.
So it was when he was retired. But I just say one thing that I found profound as well about that, as others as well, is when they're telling you their story, and they're looking in your eye, and sometimes a tear in the eye, they're not making this up. And he said there is not a day gone by that I haven't thought about this because it was such a fascinating encounter.
Right.
Mm.
That's fantastic, and I love the fact that because this stuff has been very nobody talks about this in the UK or from a UK
No,
military
no, no,
perspective. A lot of it's US centered,
exactly.
and it's great that I believe that we need to. I think there's a lot going on in this country that not many people know about.
I know, I know. In mainstream media is really failing. I mean,
Yeah.
even what's that? There's still obviously, as you well know, it's still a big agenda in America,
Hmm.
but there's a huge amount of information coming out.
Hmm.
I don't know when it's going to have to come out in this country, in Britain, but no, it's failing at the moment.
Yeah, well, a little heads up actually before we get into your presentation. So Melody and I, we visited Cornwall recently, and I'm going to do a show on this. And I told a couple of friends about it, but we visited Spaceport Cornwall.
Oh yeah,
I didn't even know it existed.
no, no, no. I know the one in Leicestershire, but
Yeah, yeah.
Spaceport. Sorry, for actually takeoff. You mean at Newquay?
It's near Newquay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So do you know about that? Do you?
yeah. I know. Yeah, now I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was blown away
Really?
because there's history with RAF St Morgan, which is what it's directly
Yes.
next to.
Yeah.
I've got heard
Yeah.
whistleblowers talk about RAF St Morgan
Yeah.
and underground things there. But I'm going to actually do like a little video on that. I'm in the process of doing it now, but
Brilliant.
it's just
Brilliant.
finding time. Just because we took some footage, and I was blown away that that sort of thing was in our country. I
I
had no
know. I
idea, you
know.
know.
You expect sunny Florida, don't you? Not.
Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. But right, Alan, take it away. You're going to share your screen.
Yeah, let me
Um,
just do that for you.
let's uh, let's get this thing started.
Right, it's gone to, oh yeah, there we go. That's coming
Yeah,
up. Yeah,
it's
that's good.
working. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah, tell me. Let me just make sure that it goes to the next slide as well. There seems to be a real hiccup.
Okay.
I think I've just got to.
Why are you finding that? I think it's, I just wanted to say, I think it's like mind blowing that we're getting these things. Yeah, it's flicking through. That's brilliant. I think it's mind blowing that like England is the epicenter of crop circles and nobody talks about it. Or should I say,
No, no,
very few talk about it. It's not in the mainstream.
no.
It's wild to me.
It is.
But yeah, please take it away.
Yeah, well, I mean, fascinating, as you're just saying, how little there is that's discussed about the crop circle reality in this country. And I'm going to show you this is a presentation. I'm going to show you some images that are just going to blow you away because most people have the impression of, again, the image of the two guys, Doug and Dave, with their ropes and planks of wood,
Yeah,
creating these sort of basic circles in the early 90s. And of course, the hoaxing's gone on right the way through.
yeah.
But some of them, which I'll show you, they are staggering in their size, their complexity,
Hmm.
and with associated phenomena as well. But for myself, I was one of the founding members of a leading crop circle research group that began in the mid 90s in Wiltshire. And that was at that time when they really were starting to take off. So the area you just mentioned, about in the UK,
Hmm.
the sort of red triangular area is where the vast majority of formations have appeared. This is from the late 80s
Hmm.
and then into the early 90s when they became more and more profound. Um, is in that sort of rough area, so at least 80% of all of the formations. But just so you know, they have appeared in over, 42 different countries all over the world.
Right.
So not just in the UK, but as we say, the vast majority is in that area,
Mm. Mm.
and certainly the most complex ones as well. But the first one that sort of after the late 80s of simple circles and circles with rings, this was the first one that really, people started to take note of this. This appeared in 1990 in what is called the East Field in a village called Alton Barnes in Wiltshire, which is the Mecca area for where, some of the most profound formations appeared, which some of which I'll show you in the presentation.
Mm.
But this was because this happened, again, still basic, but there were people from all over the world started to come and look at this at that time.
Mm.
And in fact, Led Zeppelin ended up putting this on the front cover of an
I knew
album.
I'd seen it somewhere. Yeah, yeah, I knew I'd seen it.
I thought you might, yeah.
Yeah,
So, they were obviously interested in the subject as well.
yeah.
But we as the research group and others as well, there was a group called the BLT Research Team, which stood for John Burke, Dr. William Levengood, and Nancy Talbot. These were professional scientific consultants that were looking into the genuine crop formations. There were people like a biophysicist, which was Levengood, analytical chemist, geologist, geochemist, mineralogist, etc. And what they did, this was from 1990 onwards, they started to take samples from within the crop and then control samples out further out into the field every 10 meters. So we used to send them samples. The result of that, very briefly, is that the genuine formations, the crop was going through a change in its cellular structure. It's as though the crop was being superheated up to about 800 degrees centigrade in a fraction of a second. So
Wow.
any moisture within the crop turned to steam. And this ended up causing things like you can see bending and elongation on the nodes on the stems of crop. So that up on the top left, as you look at this, the control samples, that's a standard stem of wheat. But the ones that were affected had an elongation. This is not phototropism, when it goes back to the sun, because this would
Mm,
happen,
mm,
instantly. And often the crop in a genuine formation was, if you were the first into it was standing about a foot off the ground. So as you stepped into it, it crushed the crop down. So it clearly showed that it wasn't made by a person, as
mm,
they're crushing it with
mm,
the boards.
mm,
But also there were magnetic anomalies as well. So like compasses would spin within a formation, or batteries would fail as well in
mm.
cameras, even expensive like, media expensive cameras. It would
Mm.
fail in the formation, but as you come out and walk
Fascinating.
further away, it comes back again.
Wow.
So there was this very powerful magnetic anomaly around the genuine formations as well. But this is when they started to become, more profound and with messages as well, not just pretty patterns. This was in 1991. This formation, triangular formation, appeared below Barbary Castle, which is up at the top.
Mm,
Um, and the night that that appeared, there were a group of night watchers out, just looking around, seeing if something was going on. They said that they saw a large triangular UFO hovering above the field and a beam of light shining down into the field.
mhm,
So the following day, they went to have a look, and then they saw that formation there. They had the impression that it was meant to represent the fact that there should be a balance between mind, body, and spirit, which, of course, as you know, there should be.
right.
Um, but this is where this stepped up to a higher level because fascinating. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but to me, one of the most amazing contactee cases in the world is with Carlos Diaz in Mexico, in Tepoztlan in Mexico.
Mhm.
So from 1981 onwards, he was seeing and filming these amazing plasma
Wow. Mm,
UFOs.
mm,
It's believed they were highly advanced, organic, sentient thinking technology. He met with human types that came from here. But on one occasion, this was on the 11th of January 1998. He'd been on board before, but he was taken on board the craft, and they took him inside a huge cave, a cave system. He felt it was in Mexico.
mm.
He still had his video camera with him, and he was sort of on the side of the cave as one of these objects were hovered below him. So he was filming. This is a screen grab, and they projected an image on the rock below, um, which was the same image as the crop circle that appeared in
Wow.
91.
Wow.
And they also told him that it's meant to represent the fact there should be a balance between mind, body, and spirit.
Amazing.
If anyone's interested, this is within the documentary called Ships of Light on UFO TV. It's an amazing encounter.
Mm,
But then moving to 1996, 1996 is when I'd started looking into them in 95, but in 96 they really stepped up to a higher level. And this is in the East Field again that I mentioned earlier.
mm.
This is 650 feet long double helix of DNA that appeared in the field. Um, and so myself and a fellow researcher, we went in there and we were sort of, looking at how the crop was laid, etc., researching it. And while we were in there, a journalist and a photographer from the Daily Mail, the national newspaper, came in, and they were, so they started asking us questions about, what we felt crop circles were, what was the message, etc. I mean, even then in 96, we felt that it was like a communication and a way of sort of helping to raise consciousness of people around the world because, literally people would come from all over the world because they were appearing regularly.
Mm, mm,
But anyway, so that ended up appearing in the Daily Mail. This is in 29 June 1996. But which is good. It was quite a reasonable article. But while we were there, they left, so we carried on looking at the lay of the crop, and a helicopter turned up really close. It was a Westland Gazelle like this,
mm.
but it was black, unmarked, which is,
The
to
black
be honest,
helicopters.
yeah, it's illegal. It's
I hear a lot about them. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, really, yeah, yeah. See, CIA, it should be illegal, but there you go. I mean, there are many bases in that area, Salisbury Plain, and other bases. So, there's regularly military helicopters flying around. But what people don't know is that, sometimes they're quite threatening, deliberately so.
Yeah.
So, like this one, he flew right up to the edge of the formation, and it was probably about as close as that. I could see the face of the pilot looking down at us,
Mm.
and it was, causing a huge downwash into the crop. But even more scary is that around a similar time, one of the leading researchers at the time, she was on the hill that looks down over that field on a different day. She was filming the formation, and a helicopter, she said it approached from below her, which is really weird.
Mm.
And it came so close that it was kicking up all the dust and debris, in her face and everything.
Mm.
So she jumped into her car with the camera still running and took off without even looking. She just drove off down the hill, and this helicopter chased her above the car. She went down on the hill and then eventually flew away. It really scared her. And this, there are lots of incidents like this where, there's sort of threatening behavior. So,
Yeah.
as I say, there's more to this than meets the eye. It's not just pretty pictures.
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, that sort of behaviour just makes me want to look at it even more. So it's like self-defeating.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
That's a really
Yeah.
good point because I think that's the way people felt. They were intimidated.
Yeah.
There was another case, because of what you've just said, in a really amazing formation that I'll show you later on. But people felt there were quite a few people in there researching, and a helicopter sort of hovered nearby, and then everybody started to feel sick. So they felt that perhaps they were using some sort of infrasound or something to
Energy
affect.
weapons. Yeah. Yeah. I heard
And
about
so
that
it
too.
had actually caused people to leave the formation.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, it annoys me.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah.
It's like, who gives them permission to do that against
Exactly.
civilians in a field looking at, what supposedly are all hoax, but of course we know they're not.
Right.
Um,
I mean, that's a really good point, actually. If it was a hoax, why would they do that?
I
You know what I
know.
mean? Why would they do that sort of threatening behavior?
I
That's a really
know.
good point. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the orbs, which I'll mention in a minute, the orbs of light, which are seen most common phenomena with crop circles. Helicopters have been seen chasing these balls of light as well, so they
Wow.
were fully aware of their reality.
Mm, mm,
So this is still 1996, and this is when it started to step up to a higher level, when this formation appeared in on the 7th of July 1996. Above it is Stonehenge. You can see at the top.
mhm.
This is the busy A303 below. What is amazing is this appeared on a busy Sunday afternoon, within about a 15-20 minute time frame, and nobody saw how it was created. It was the formation itself is based on the sort of sacred geometry, the golden mean. It's 900 feet long with
Wow.
about 150 circles.
Wow.
But when it was, there are several witnesses to say that it appeared really quickly. So, there were some security guards that were doing their rounds of Stonehenge, and that looks down on that field below, and they said there was nothing there. When they came back about 20 minutes later, there it was. There was a pilot of a light aircraft who was flying people around the ancient stone sites, like Avebury Stone Circle up the road and
Yeah.
Stonehenge here. He flew round Stonehenge, nothing there, came back about 15 minutes later, and there it was again. And also the farmer acknowledged that it had appeared really quickly as well. And this is during the day on a Sunday afternoon. So this was when we started to realize that the real formations are appearing really quickly, and it was like, how was that happening? But they also, clearly are often on ley lines in that area. As you well know, it's like a very
Mhm.
powerful area for the really strong ley lines.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's theory that there's something like 14 different energy lines coming in and out of Stonehenge alone. So,
Mm, mhm.
but a lot of the formations appeared on ley lines. So some people felt, was there an energy being utilized in the creation as well?
Mm, mm.
Um, then a week later, this one appeared.
Wow.
Again with that sort of theme of a spiral, but a threefold spiral. And this appeared at Windmill Hill, funnily enough, which is just down the road from the Avebury Stone Circle, the ancient megalithic site.
Mhm.
This is 1,000 feet across. I mean, it's just incredible. And if from above, the geometry of this is like perfect to the millimeter. So you've
Right,
got your
right.
central circle. Can you see the arrow?
Yep, yep.
Yeah. So like the first three circles from above create a perfect equilateral triangle,
Mm.
and then the next three and the next three and so on and so forth until you go all the way out to the last three.
Wow.
So it creates like a spiraling vortex of
Yeah,
equilateral uh, s- um, um, triangles,
that's amazing.
bigger or smaller depending how you look at it. But this is also because there was we had to put up with the debunking and the hoaxing,
Mm.
the ridicule, uh, and a lot of the man-made formations they would put a pole in the middle of the what was going to be a circle, and then with the ropes they could create a circle.
Hmm.
So this one is one of the first where it was like, okay, all right, so we do you 1,000 foot crop formation, but we'll also have standing crop in the middle of every single circle. You see the way it's lit. And they were all different as well. They were either splayed, they were down like little corn dollies, donut shapes. It's like, oh God. I remember when I was in there, I was standing in this one here right at the end, and there was a person in that one over there, and they just looked like miles away. This
Mm.
is huge, 1,000 feet, 300 meters.
That's amazing. That's like like the beings that are making these just went, right, let's just debunk the debunkers, shall we?
Exactly. It was it. I mean, it was the size alone, and how we'd seen the single spiral at Stonehenge, showing that they can do it, even if people are around.
Yeah.
But then by that adding that extra touch, it was beautiful. And then, as if that wasn't enough, then this boy appeared. Um, this is
Wow.
just monumental. This is
Wow.
800 feet across. This appeared on a place called Milk Hill, which is just above that Mecca village in Alton Barnes.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, this is so big. There's over 400 circles in there, and the media the local media is quite sort of complimentary about this because it was realised that to do this in those few hours of darkness, which at that time of year in the UK, it's light, very late at
Mm.
night.
Mhm.
This was 13 August 2001. It appeared. You'd have to do each one of those circles within about 30 seconds.
Wow.
And it's massive. I mean, that's bigger than a house. That just that one circle alone.
Yeah.
So it has sort of again stepped it up to a much higher level. And there's other aspects to this, a long story, but there's these sort of associated weird things that happen as well. So they'd really stepped that up to that new level. Um, but then still 96. So as if we were starting to now, this was the year, the seminal year where it started to show, let's give some evidence as to what's going on here, and how these things are created. And that's when this formation appeared. It was known as the snowflake, which appeared below Oliver's Castle near Devizes in Wiltshire in the UK on the 11th of August 1996. But this is the one that you've probably heard about it, that had the balls of light that were filmed flying around the field.
Hmm.
Um, and there was a guy who filmed this early in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. He was just camping nearby. It was a drizzly, dark morning. There was no formation there. This is known. This was on Sunday morning, 11 August 96. So he looked out and he filmed. There were four balls of light that were flying around the field.
I've seen that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and like two of them sort of flew around and then two went off to the right. And as they were flying around, the formation itself started to collapse into the crop below it. So like that's that one. Then this is the next one as they're moving off here, and it's getting more and more. And then the third one, as it literally just sort of falls into the crop.
Mm.
But I show this because again, this was another thing that was debunked in the mainstream media that this was just a hoax.
Mm.
But we generally it's shown like this, but our researchers from our group actually saw the guy that filmed this and the film itself, the original film, on the same day, later that day at the Barge pub, which is where a lot of crappies used to hang around at that time. But
Crappies.
the original footage it had a lot more to it. So it had this hedge here. There's another field, another hedge, and then another field beyond it. And the two balls of light, so like here, you can see where they're going. They fly through that hedge,
Mm.
across the field, through the other hedge, and then off into the distance, while the others go to the right.
Mm.
So it's as though the balls of light, they weren't even affected by the material of the hedge.
Hmm.
They were able to actually pass through the solid matter of the hedge.
Wow.
So again, that's that feeling that they're energy, they're not actually like solid technology.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Yeah, I
it's the
hear
most common phenomena.
it is, and I hear a lot of. I mean, there's a guy, I don't know if you know of him, called Chris Bledsoe.
Yeah,
You know Chris
yeah,
Bledsoe. He talks about the orbs. He's had
yeah,
experiences with these orbs, and they come to him and things like that. I would argue it's the same
yeah,
crafts, beings, whatever they are,
yeah.
that they're kind of like wanting to make contact.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, funny enough, from around the mid 90s, when the orbs were being taken, when people were taking photographs, that discounting refraction and snowflakes or raindrops, we started to realize they were probably like spirits, like either ghosts
Mm,
or our guides, guardians. When
mhm,
people are doing healing, etc. But
mm,
these were different. These were like a more solid thing, but still. Um, not solid enough that they could pass through, a hedge.
mm,
Bizarre.
mm.
And then, so moving on, this is basically chronological what I'm doing, as we
Yeah, yeah,
progress.
yeah.
So then this appeared near Silbury Hill, another ancient site near Avebury,
Mhm,
in 2000. And again, as you look at this, initially you think, oh, yeah, that's fairly simple. It's just a square. But actually, the more you look at it, you start to say, no, hold on, there's four squares in there. And then more and more, no, hold on, it's eight squares. And then it just
yeah,
gets more and more.
yeah.
There's 1,600 squares and oblongs of crop in there.
Wow.
But it's set out in a way that, let's say, if you fold it in the middle, say here, bringing it towards you, or up through the middle there and then folding it that way, all of these dark squares, which is standing crop, and the pins will actually um, plug into those empty spaces on the other side. I mean, it is just ridiculous. And yet, this was actually, I mentioned about the energies, ley line energies, but
Mm,
a lot of the crop formations have powerful energies associated with them. And I said about the magnetic effect, but some of them felt, really sort of like a loving, gentle sort of feeling.
mm.
This one was actually had quite a bad energy. And I know at least two people that couldn't go into that formation. As
Interesting.
they approached it, they felt like this barrier trying to stop them.
Mm,
Dowsers could douse the energy on the
mhm,
formations.
mhm,
Um, so two people didn't even go into it because they felt it was that bad. But we used to call that one the silicon chip, um, which of course then links in obviously with the revelations that came from Colonel Phil Corso, who worked at the Pentagon in the Army's Research and Development Department,
mhm. Yeah.
in the early 60s, where he was supposedly seeding technology from the crashed UFO into into mainstream industry, through government contracting programs.
Yeah.
So things like silicon chip, fiber optics, night vision,
Mhm.
Kevlar,
Yeah. Yeah.
lasers, all sorts of stuff, which I accept with what he was saying. So there was that sort of UFO link even with that crop circle.
Hmm.
Um, I hope I'm not rushing too much.
No, no, please, you're doing great. This is fantastic. Absolutely
Brilliant.
fascinating.
Thank you, mate. Um, so after sort of 10 years really, of these formations appearing, there was, we again, the research, sort of the leading research people who were really, getting into in depth into what was going on. We were starting to see these anomalies and
Mm,
these things, but we really felt that this was a communication. You're still questioning what's happening here, what's going on.
mm,
And, we felt that it must be some sort of communication because people were, like I said, came from all over the world. It was raising consciousness because people would talk about other subjects as well, not just crop circles. So it was like a SETI communication. And in 2000, 2001 and 2002 is when it really sort of highlighted that it definitely was a SETI communication.
mm,
Um, this is a radio telescope at Chilbolton, which is just south of Andover in Hampshire, the next county over
mhm,
from Wiltshire. And as in the SETI program, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, they are using radio telescopes from around the world, hoping to receive a sort of intelligent communication from space from an advanced civilization. But as we know, SETI is run by NASA, and behind the scenes, NASA is run by the military.
Hmm.
So the feeling is that even if we received an advanced communication, like in the movie Contact, they would still try and, cover this up.
Hmm.
So this is what was amazing is when this formation appeared next to that radio telescope, which is on
Wow.
government land.
Mm.
This was on the 13th of August 2000 when this one appeared right next to it. And we felt it was like was trying to highlight that this is like a SETI communication because it seemed to show the the dish and the antenna of the radio
Yeah.
telescope,
Yeah.
but then with this cosmic or planetary communication going into the
That's
dish.
amazing. Yeah.
So we were, really excited. It's like saying, yeah, yeah, it is. And the point being is that because we probably wouldn't get to hear about it, by having these images in the fields of the world, it meant that ordinary people could go in and see this communication.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, like basically, it's like they're probably covering up loads at that satellite, so the,
Yeah,
the beings went, well, we're going to give the people
yeah,
something.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what it felt like. And then, as you'll see, that over the next 2 years, it really it was very definitive. So the following year, virtually to the day, in the same field,
Wow.
this is the radio telescope. The formation I just showed you was here.
Hmm.
These two appeared. The one at the top was a face, like a
Yeah,
human or humanoid
that's
face, which you
amazing.
could only see from the air.
Yeah.
And the other one was a um, that was pointing straight at the telescope, was based on a binary code message that was sent into space by the SETI program back in November 1974.
Wow.
So it was like a reply to that, but it had anomalies in it. And of course, the anomalies we looked at, which really sort of highlighted there was a communication. So initially, the face, you need to
Incredible.
actually get further back with this or squint your eyes. If you squint your eyes, it actually,
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
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 it
yeah,
becomes, it's like, black and white dots that you get in a newspaper.
yeah.
Close up, you can't see it, but as you pull away, it's the face of somebody.
That's
This
outrageous.
is very
Yeah.
much like a human
Wow.
face,
That's
but it was
amazing.
made of hundreds of circles of crop. And when you walk in there, the crop only comes to about the top of your thigh.
Mm,
So, you're looking across the field, you haven't got a clue what that is. You have
mm,
to see the aerial overview. And then this was the other one. This is about 250 feet in length, pointing at the telescope.
mm,
And as I say, this is based on this binary code message that was sent from the Arecibo radio telescope in Puerto Rico, which
mhm,
at that time was the largest radio telescope in the world.
mhm.
And this is a sort of translation of that binary code message that was sent into space on the right here, and then a block floor on the left, which I'll show you next against the crop formation. But basically, it was an intelligent communication sent into space. It showed at the bottom like a mini graphic of the Arecibo radio
Mhm,
telescope with the
mhm.
dish and the antenna, the solar system, our solar system, with the Earth, the third planet, raised up,
Wow.
saying this
Yeah.
is the planet that we, a human, come from. It had the double helix of DNA, number of nucleotides in DNA, etc., etc. It was an intelligent
That's
communication.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the block form of that. So then when you compare that to the actual crop formation, as you zigzag backwards and forwards, you start to see, although similar, there are anomalies within it. And it's so interesting. As an example, one of them was the DNA seemed to be showing a more advanced DNA rather than the double helix.
Hmm. Hmm.
And again, we were sort of discussed that and felt that, is it trying to say it's like that's ET DNA
Hmm.
or even hybrid, with the hybrid,
Yep.
the alien abduction hybridization program?
Yep. Yep.
Is it showing a sort of a hybrid DNA? Below it, instead of the human, you had a depiction of a grey, with a little being, but with a large cranium. Um, and below that was amazing. Instead of just the Earth saying this is the planet with life, it showed three areas, as if it was trying to highlight that there's life on all of those.
Wow.
So obviously the Earth was raised up. Next to it, Mars was raised up as well.
Hmm.
And way back, we knew that we were told that there was water on Mars. Again, it took the media forever to
Yeah.
come out with it.
Yeah.
Certainly under underground liquid water as well as the frozen water.
Mhm.
And then the four dots probably represented the four Galilean moons, which again, well, certainly three of those have liquid water under ice caps.
Yeah.
So the feeling is that it's highlighting that there's more, that there's life at minimum, microbial life in those as well. And then the pièce de résistance of this was instead of showing the Arecibo radio telescope, it showed a little mini graphic of the crop formation that appeared there the year
Oh
before
yeah.
with
Wow.
with
Yeah.
the dish and the antenna. So
Yeah.
we felt it really was trying to say this is like a reply to that SETI
Yeah.
communication. So the ETs are here. There's life in this solar system alone. And they're present, and this is a SETI communication. So
That's
again,
incredible.
we were excited about that, and then the following year, the third of the trilogy, is when it stepped up to an even higher level. Um, again, virtually to the day. This is in August of 2002, just 8 miles down the road, but this time under a bank of microwave towers. And the SETI program looks into microwave spectrum as well as radio. Appeared like a photographic image, a three-dimensional image. That's when this one here appeared.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, you've probably
Yeah.
seen it.
I've seen this one
Uh,
before, but it's amazing. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, again, if you sort of go back a bit or squint your eyes, it's amazing because it's the bank of microwave towers were just up here.
Hmm.
It's 350 feet in length. It's not running in line with the tram lines. This is where the tractors drive up and down,
Right.
spraying the
Yeah.
crop.
Yeah.
If you look up here, there's a car on that road,
Yeah.
so it gives you an idea of the size of this.
Right. Yeah.
It's just made basically of lines of crop, bit like a fax,
Yeah.
that are laying the crop. So you end up with this like a photograph of a grey. But even if you notice the sort of the shading on the right cheek, it's really clever. Possibly three UFOs in the distance.
Incredible. Yeah. It is
Yeah,
incredible. And the first time I saw that, I was like, they're literally telling you who they are.
yeah,
You
I
know?
know it's amazing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, that was impressive. And oh, and also people was the night this appeared, people had seen some balls of light flying up and down above the
Mm.
field.
Mm.
But this is the profound thing is that this appeared round about the 25th anniversary of the Voyager probe
Mm.
that had the golden discs on board,
Mhm.
with the music playing, the people speaking, greetings in 54 Earth languages
Mhm.
sent out into space. So because this is like a disc, of communication, it was actually translated. I'll tell you, but just initially. This is on a sloping field, they're not flat canvases, these
Mhm.
crop fields.
Mhm.
I walked this. It took me 15 or 20 minutes to walk that. It's a spiral that runs from the center all the way up and then comes at the bottom here.
Mhm.
It took me 15 or 20 minutes, so it must be the equivalent of about a mile in length, if you straighten that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sloping on a sloping field. But the dark area is a standing crop and the light area is a laid crop, and they all point into the center. It's ridiculous. But anyway, the translation of that, they use the ASCII code in the computer, and it comes up with a message which says, "Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. Believe there is good out there. We oppose deception. Conduit closing." So it was a really powerful message.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, so a lot of people felt, at that time, this is in 2002, there were people who felt that perhaps the Greys were going to be here to help us as we go through these technological environmental changes.
Mhm.
Other people felt that they were a bit like the message, possibly deceivers. They're taking from us, taking genetic material
Okay.
and
Yeah.
manipulating things from behind the scenes. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we're not to be trusted. For me, I would go along with the latter. I wouldn't necessarily trust these beings, but
Mhm.
this is where this is now. The crop circles themselves were giving such a powerful
Very
message.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. To just clarify how they decoded that message from that circle.
they use what's called the ASCII code. Now, I'm not a techie, so I don't know, but
Okay.
it was basically like you'd have binary ones and zeros.
Yeah, yeah, because
Um,
I think I saw something once that they, like you said, the spiral. They kind of ran it as if it was like it was a note or a heavier note with every nodule, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
And they ran it through this machine. Again, I'm not a techie either,
No.
and it came up
No.
with this. They
Yeah.
decoded the message basically. Yeah,
It
yeah,
was, and it was interesting because it had capitals in it as well. But
right.
one of the questions that people have asked me on countless occasions talking about this is, well, why in English? Why is it in English? And the only way I can ever answer that is that I suppose it's the international language. It's more people, even if it's a second language, have access to English, and of
Correct.
course
Yeah,
they're appearing in Britain anyway. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
I never
yeah,
thought
no,
of that though. That basically like with the message that they're actually showing you who the deceivers are potentially as well.
That's
Yeah,
it.
never
That's
thought of that.
it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's a really good point.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean that, again, that would depend on your opinion, but that's
Right.
certainly what I felt, and a lot of other people felt the same as well. So it's like, although he's holding the disc up, this is, and as you've heard about these agreements that have possibly been made with them, with people
Yeah,
in the black ops in the
yeah,
past,
yeah.
um, you know, um, for them to do certain things. So,
Yeah, I
um,
don't. We don't hear too many good things about the Greys. Neutral at best,
yeah,
negative at
yeah.
at most common. So that would align. I mean, like I say, I always took it that was like a self portrait, but maybe not.
No, no, him holding this. No, I think it was saying this is the message that relates to this,
Right.
the photograph of
Really
this
interesting.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, good one, mate. Well done.
Mm.
So anyway, so that was so I now move forward to 2006, and that year at the sort of famous International UFO Congress in Laughlin in the States, they used to have like 1,000 or 2,000 people that would come to see the speakers there. That year, there was Jaime Maussan and Santiago Gaza. They're the sort of two leading researchers from Mexico. They highlighted, among other things, one of the things they'd been given was this video footage, CCTV footage from the UK and from Mexico, end of 2005, of what looked like opening wormholes or portals up in the sky, interdimensional portals opening up.
Mm.
It was amazing. And then that season, in the crop circle season, it's as though it was actually mirrored and highlighted in a very similar fashion. So this is a brilliant photograph by Steve Alexander from temporarytemples.co.uk.
Mm.
He's one of the leading photographers. Really brilliant images. But again, these are just literally arcs of wheat,
Mm.
and yet especially with the lighting as well, it has this real 3D
Yeah,
effect.
it's
So it's
amazing. It
looking
looks
down.
like a hill almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're looking into rather than a sort of a flat plane, it becomes 3D.
Mm. Mm.
And then there was another one, this one as well.
Wow.
This is another one of Steve's. This appeared in next to a place called Savernake Forest, which again is in where all of this area where these are appearing. But so myself and a fellow researcher, we went into this formation to have a look. The forest runs all the way down here. And the feeling we had is that the two flat circles were trying to highlight our dimension, the third dimensional plane.
Mm.
And these were trying to say that there is an interdimensional reality, or dimensions beyond this
Yeah.
realm, which
Yeah.
of course we know there are,
Mhm.
but in this form, again, mimicking the videos. Now, what is truly fascinating is we left on this top tram line here walking out,
Mhm.
which runs parallel with that forest, Savernake Forest. And as we were walking out, I looked left and I did a double take, and I stood still and looked, and the whole forest seemed to move away from me, like diminishing down, getting smaller into the distance. So I spoke to my colleague and I said, "Can you see that?" And she stopped and looked as well, and she said, "Yeah, I can." So this wasn't just my own personal sort of hallucination.
Interesting. Yeah,
The
yeah.
both of us stood there mesmerized as this forest seemed to, disappear into the distance. It was weird because can't even remember how long it was, but suddenly it was back to normal again. But I think it's like for us, it gave an additional sort of affirmation of the fact that this is trying to highlight that you say like the material plane is not as solid as we think it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad you've brought that up actually because I've heard a number of occasions when people have gone into these circles and it's like they're stepping into another dimension,
Yeah,
like energetically. I mean, I remember hearing a woman couldn't like her legs went, she like couldn't stand up. The energy was so intense,
brilliant.
and I think like what was happening there? Like you were in some sort of vortex within the
Yeah,
sort of magnetism of the circle of what was
yeah,
created, and it was creating this
yeah,
distance effect. To
yeah.
my mind, anyway, that's
Yeah, no,
amazing.
I agree entirely. I mean, the time aspect was common with because of the magnetic effect, and the magnetism would be often, way above the formation, so not just at ground level.
Mm,
We felt it was often in a toroidal shape, like a donut, would be above the formation and then down and into the earth as well,
wow.
which is, I think, why it affected, instrumentation and stuff.
Hmm.
But then, yeah, people would go in and think they'd been in there for like 15 minutes and come out 2 hours later,
Right, yeah, like
with
time
stuff like,
anomalies and stuff. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
It's
so
fascinating.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
more than
it's
just patterns in a field, isn't it? There's energetic components to these as well.
100%,
Yeah,
which again, this points obviously to the genuine ones, not the hoax ones, because that you're not going to have
right.
that same effect.
Hmm.
Um, this is another one, and I, show these because I'm trying to give you a broad overview of the whole lot, really, but
Mm,
of the different aspects. And this was one because, we at that time we were leading up to the. This appeared on the 8th of July 2008. The Mayan prophecies of this sort of great
the end of the
transition
world.
in December 2012.
Yeah.
And people were really sort of felt that the crop formations were really trying to highlight that,
Mm,
as part of this awakening consciousness.
mm,
And this one really did it. So, like 4 years before, this is the Avebury Stone Circle. So, way down in the distance is Stonehenge. This is the
mm,
Avebury. This is the largest megalith in Europe,
mm.
as a circle. That's Silbury Hill over here,
Yeah.
in the distance. This formation was basically the solar system, our solar system. So you had the sort
The
of the
sun.
sun, even the way it was laid like a sun. Then you've got Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, the inner planets. Then the bigger, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, and then the faint Pluto, even with its elliptical orbit, that comes into the within the orbit of
Wow.
Neptune.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
It's just
amazing.
mind-boggling.
That's
And
amazing.
but what was truly profound is that when, like I said about the ASCII code, but when these were plotted in where the planets were, they came up with the date of the 21st of December 2012, which is the Mayan prophecy date
Right.
of
Yeah.
that time of transition. So that was just mind-boggling. This is a picture that I took within it, just so, again, for people who are
Wow.
watching this who don't really know about formations, when you're on ground level, it's really hard to know what you're looking at.
Mm,
This is actually Pluto. That's the Pluto with its
right.
orbit that's coming in. The orbit of Neptune is just out there, look.
Hmm.
So it gives you an idea, the crop is at your sort of thigh level. And it's really hard to know what image it is until you see the aerial overviews.
Just quick question. So, obviously, you didn't have drones back in these days. So, how were you getting these photos?
Yeah, well, that's why I have a huge amount of respect for Steve Alexander, because to me he was one of the leading researchers. Him and Karen Alexander, because they would go up in helicopters all the time,
Wow.
and
Okay.
I mean, from 1994, if you look at his website, temporarytemples.co.uk, he started, filming these from 1994 onwards. So every year, all the major formations. But of course, that was really expensive. So yeah, that's a great question because now obviously there's a lot more people can just quickly nip up with a
Yeah. Yeah.
drone. So thanks to people like that and others, Lucy
Mm,
Pringle, Francine Blake, etc., from the past. So this, funnily enough, I showed you Avebury Stone Circle with the Silbury Hill in the distance.
that's a
This
Silver
is
Hill.
Silbury Hill,
Yeah.
which is regarded as an ancient burial mound. Some people say it's sort of a holy site.
Hmm.
Again, left is left is Avebury, right is Stonehenge.
Hmm.
And then this one again, talking in the Mayan sort of prophecies. This was basically based on a Mayan feathered headdress.
Fantastic. Wow.
Um, it's awesome. But there's a man with his dog in there. If you can see, you see the size of these, and the crop itself is laid in such a way that it sort of, with the light on it, created this sort of Mayan,
Pattern.
yeah, pattern, exactly like the iconography within
Mm.
Mayan sort of sculptures and stuff. So it really was really clever.
I'm getting chills.
Yeah, good. Well, good. Thank you. Because that's if you
It's
don't,
amazing.
then
This is amazing. Yeah.
yeah, bless you, mate. Because this is what the feeling that you should have.
Yeah.
And so while we were getting all of these things that we were sort of working out, about the formation stuff. Then we started, a lot of researchers started to come across this, what we call crop specific formations. It's as though the technology seemed to be that advanced that it could lay a specific species of plant. So this is another one of Steve's brilliant pictures, but
Mhm.
it shows this is in a field of wheat, and next to it is a grass field.
Mm.
And now, that may not have been the effect, but this is a picture to illustrate the fact that some of the formations they would lay only, let's say, wheat, but if there was some barley stalks in there from the year before,
Mm.
or poppies or flowers, they would remain standing,
Mm.
but only the specified crop would lay.
Oh,
And it was, we started to think this is pretty profound if this is really happening. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
even that one, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't going to mention that, but there was a photograph taken when this first appeared. There was a group of cows in the grass field, and when this guy took this picture, they were standing in a circle, all of the cows in the field, at the exact spot where there would have been that circle if it was in the
Wow,
grass.
wow.
So there was some sort of energy there,
Yeah, yeah.
but it didn't affect the grass. And that's where it takes it to a higher level. And this is another one I just showed to highlight this. This was from July 2003. This is I believe a genuine formation. There's got standing crop at the center of all the circles and all in here as well. Look,
Hmm.
but that dark area there, this was a group of weeds.
Mm.
So this is the picture that I took from within there. This
Okay.
was in July 2003 of this big clump of weeds that were in the crop. But the
Mm.
crop is not, that didn't lay only the wheat itself. Now
Right,
again,
yeah.
people can dispute that, but we were seeing this, on a regular basis
Mm.
with, brand new formations before phototropism, before plants start to move back towards the light, etc.
Mhm.
So it's just another little thing that was a little bit weird.
So it's something about the wheat that responds.
Well, it could be the same in a barley field. So if
Oh, wow.
the main crop was a barley or
Mm.
oats,
Right, okay.
they would be laid, but then something that was alien or errant in that particular year,
Right.
they would remain standing. So I
Interesting.
think enough people saw it for us to sort of question if that was actually happening.
Very interesting, yeah.
Yeah. Now, let's get a drink for this. We are now going to get step to like a really spiritual level. So this is when this sort of they started to step up to a really high spiritual level. The formations had been showing symbols from different religions. So again, if this was a genuine communication, which we felt it was, it was for everybody on Earth, not just for one
Hmm.
religion or one set of people. It was for all people on the planet.
Hmm.
This was truly incredible. So this appeared on the 7th of July 2007 in the East Field, again that sort of Mecca field in Alton Barnes. It's huge. It's 1,000 feet long, which is basically the size of the Eiffel Tower in Paris.
Wow.
And there's some people walking down in the tram lines there, so you can see the size of this.
Mhm.
Now, what is amazing about this is that the night that this appeared, so the field was just, an ordinary field. There were people doing a night watch up in the hill above it, using an ordinary camera and an infrared camera to see if something happened. During the middle of the night, there was a bright flash of light that illuminated the whole of the valley. It was so powerful, it sent an electromagnetic spike into the infrared camera.
Mm.
And as it started to become light, this huge formation was there. When they look later on, when they look back, again, there's not a lot of darkness at night. In early July, it's nearly midsummer.
Yeah.
So in the UK, there's very little darkness.
Yeah.
They worked out that they reckon it appeared certainly within 9 minutes. This
Wow.
this formation, but with no sign of any people or anything other than that flash of light.
Wow.
But what was incredible is, if you look at it sideways, which I'll show you the next slide, it's actually the Om symbol, and the Om
Mm.
relates to the total consciousness of God,
Yeah.
everything that ever was, is, and shall be. But also, it appeared on the 7th of July 2007, which is
777.
777.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
noticed that. Yeah.
And in numerology, 777 relates to the ascension process.
Wow.
So either like the ascension of Christ or of the ascending to a higher dimension.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it had, so turning sideways here, look, this
Oh
is the
yeah.
this is the
Wow.
atypical Om symbol.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
That's
a
amazing.
thousand a thousand feet long. This is the size of the Eiffel Tower. So a flash of light, the consciousness of God and ascension. This really took it to a whole new level. And then, well, just before I get to the next sort of spiritual bit, but basically the year later, it was coming up to the 888, the 8th of
Oh yeah.
August, 2008. So, of course, people were getting really excited if something was going to happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have a lot of respect for the letter eight, or sorry, the number eight. It's either as, for infinity, it's sort of like a really
Wholeness and
profound number.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so the night that this appeared, again in that Mecca area near Alton Barnes, people were up on Milk Hill and Adam's Grave, looking over that area where the one that I just showed you appeared. A lot of people, because there was this sort of clamour of interest with an 888 coming up. Nobody saw anything at all. And then just as it started to come light, they looked and this is 800 feet long formation had appeared without
Wow.
anybody seeing anything.
Wow.
And with a number eight. And it really is beautiful. This is the center. That's a group of people in the center. Look,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
now I feel, for me personally, when I look at this, I feel this is meant to represent where we are as an individual, let's say,
Hmm.
in this moment. And then this could be going backwards. You've got these flames like on the inside, and then
Yeah.
on here you've got the flames on the
Yes.
outside.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
could represent like previous really important events in your life going backwards. And then this perhaps as it comes around into the future, important events into the distance. But depending on people's belief, it can
Yeah.
also
Yeah. Yeah.
relate to previous lives.
Hmm.
I think previous incarnations back into the distance, and
Hmm.
then other lives or experiences, spiritual experiences into the future.
Right.
Or thirdly, that you're actually looking along the line of the double helix of DNA, like like from the
Oh,
from
like from above.
from inside it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Sorry.
actually
Yeah. Yeah.
inside
Yeah.
as it spirals us off in both directions. So,
Yeah.
but for this to appear without anybody seeing anything, and and they were all up all night long looking for something. It's amazing.
Fantastic.
Then, so going back to the spiritual stuff that I just mentioned, to me the most beautiful formation that's ever appeared was this one.
Wow. Wow.
It just is sublime. This appeared on the 15th of August 2008, so about a week after the 8. Um, it's staggering. It's so
Mm.
perfect.
Mm.
It's 800 feet long. It's like a laser cut in a wood block.
Mm. Mm.
There's no way could a human hoax that in a field, because if you look at, it's got an outside edge,
Mm. Mm.
a border all the
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
around this
Yeah.
sort of Celtic
I was thinking
crucifix.
Celtic. Yeah, it reminded me of
Yeah,
Celtic cross. Yeah.
yeah. And you just could not, with ropes and planks of wood, could ever not make mistakes on
Mm.
that whole thing
Mm.
all the way around. It's just stunning. This is it in the field,
That's amazing.
800 feet long, by 600 feet wide.
That's
And
incredible.
it's interesting. When we came I was actually working in airline ops at an airport at the time, and I was going to be on a late shift that night or that evening. And so I came early in the morning to this one, which I normally wouldn't, but because at that time of year, in middle of August, the crops are being harvested,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you've got to get there quick when
Mm.
something like this appeared. And what was really amazing is myself and a fellow researcher, we were walking down this tram line here into the formation. As we were sort of halfway there, suddenly church bells started to ring.
Oh wow.
So we were walking towards what is, I'm sure, the largest crucifix that's ever appeared on Earth,
Right. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
as church bells ringing, and I didn't even know the day. I'd forgotten it. It was actually Sunday morning, and obviously a local church was ringing bells for
Right.
for church service.
Wow.
Um, the incredible thing as well, and I mentioned about the Turin Shroud connection with crop circles. At the time that appeared on the 15th of August 2008, there was a really important conference that was held in Ohio in the States of some of the leading scientific researchers on the Turin Shroud, the people that were involved in the STURP uh, Shroud of Turin research project back in 1978,
Mm.
that did the first full scientific study of the Turin Shroud. So it was a really important conference, and that appeared at the same time as that vast crucifix appeared, which I thought was, talking of signs and wonders, which are
Right,
referred to in the
right.
Bible. Um, and amazingly, the 2 years later, so in 2010, there was an exposition of the Turin Shroud. This is a picture that I took in the nave of the cathedral in Turin. And that, as you know, it's rare that they actually have an exposition specifically of the shroud.
Mm,
So I was very lucky. I went twice to see it while it was on display there. You can queue up and get right close to the shroud, or you can go into the nave, and spend as long as you like, sort of contemplating this
mm.
iconic cloth. Um, but so this was 2010. And this, again, to highlight, some people may know about the shroud. I know you do, but this is the black and white image of it's the cloth itself. 14 foot has the full length body image, front
Mm,
and back.
mm,
It has all the blood wounds of the Passion,
mhm.
rare AB blood. But the image itself has now been proven scientifically. It's undeniable now that it's been created by a flash of light, a milliburst of radiation.
Wow.
At the moment of resurrection, the body actually turned into light that left this really superficial scorch on the cloth.
Yeah.
It's also now scientifically, this is all recent stuff. The cloth is now through wide angle X-ray scattering technique, through load bearing tests on the flax fiber, infrared spectroscopy, etc. The cloth is now dated 2,000 years old to be, around the time of Christ. So, but the image, if you just look at the face area alone in black and white, when you look at the negative,
Mm,
it comes up as the positive image.
mhm,
This is an old shots as well. These are 31, not the high def images, but it brings out all the forensic detail of the damage. Where his nose was hit,
mm.
across the bridge of the nose, probably broken across the cheek here, etc., etc. Um, and you mentioned about possibly me doing a talk on the shroud, which I'd be honoured to do if
I
you're
would
interested.
love that. Yeah, I'd
Oh,
love that.
brilliant, mate. That would be, full on for that. But this is what blew me away is that there was still a connection even with the crop circles. And so in that year, just a few weeks after the exposition, this is the M4 motorway running towards London.
Mm.
These two formations appeared on either side of the motorway, which were basically like the superficial image of the face of Christ that I just
Ah,
showed you. So
wow.
this is the face of Christ here, and the one on the other side, which is like the other side of the cloth. You know what I mean? Of
Wow.
it was like the back, the head area. Where the
Yeah,
crown of thorns area.
yeah,
So
yeah,
just amazing. So there was this sort of nod to, again, a much more holy aspect.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll heading toward the conclusion. I'm just showing this, but this was in 2012, um, and just to show complexity of the formations.
Mm.
Again, when people talk about, oh, they're all man-made, and a lot of people still believe that. This you look at um, the complexity. How would you do this with ropes and planks of wood? Create like a Borg cube,
Right.
the three-dimensional aspect.
Mm.
But for us, what we felt this was is that at that time, a lot of people were talking about nanotechnology that was now coming out in like medical profession,
Mm.
military applications, even in clothing, like silver nanotech.
Yeah.
So we felt that this was trying to highlight, nanotechnology coming into a cell. You see that tiny little line?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I went into that and it was actually less than the width of my hip. So, you
Oh,
can't
wow.
really create that
No,
without
you
making
can't, no.
it wider. So it was like it was coming into the
Wow, yeah.
cell. But
Mm.
it even showed the crop was actually woven like cloth, as if to highlight cloth as well. It was just truly, truly incredible. Um, yeah, last couple coming up.
Hmm.
This was in 21. Funnily enough, a lot of people felt that this was representative of a crown of thorns. But I
Ah,
show this because it's really sort of really complex lay, but also the precision of these, which is so hard to do, of
right.
the triangles. If you're
Yeah.
just doing it manually. So if you look at that triangle there, where I am now, that point there,
Mm.
that's me sitting in the crop, and it shows that point came so much to a perfect point that it actually ended up with just four stalks of wheat.
That's
Uh,
amazing. Wow.
yeah, I mean that was so precise. They're
Yeah.
not haphazard. And again, you can see the height, if you stand up of what how high the crop is. And then the last couple, this was just for this year, just to round off. Um, I've been spoilt having been looking into this since the mid 90s. Some of the formations you've seen, but
Mm.
there were a couple this year that I was interested in. This was one. This appeared at Etchelhampton Hill, funnily enough, just opposite the field where the crucifix appeared, back in 2008.
Mm.
But it was weird because this year, as you well know, it's been really, really hot,
Yeah.
very hot for the UK,
Yeah.
well into the 30s, sort of drought conditions in much of the UK.
Mhm.
The crops were being harvested mid-July, and
Mm.
I've never known that. It's usually into August. So everything was bone dry. The seed heads were smaller than normal.
Mhm.
This to me looks like a blob of water on there, sitting
Yeah.
on that. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of people felt that this was meant to represent some sort of advanced technology, perhaps some sort of ET anti-grav technology. This was a picture by Nick Bull, took this one.
Yeah, it looks quite Trinitarian to me, that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Again, that's what I love is that people have their
Yeah.
own,
Yeah. Yeah.
feelings of what it's trying to represent. Yeah,
Yeah.
again, sort of like that's a good point. Connecting everything together, a bit like that
Right.
original triangular one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
Spirit.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. And then this is the other one. This was very small, only about 80 feet across.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
these are a couple of pictures that I took here from ground level, so you can see what it's like, ground level.
Mm.
But interesting enough, some people, and one of them being Dr. Horace Drew, he likened it to the Pleiadian star
Yeah.
system.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that.
And as you're probably aware, there are people who like contactees like Billy Meyer, the
Yeah.
Swiss contactee,
Yeah.
and others that say that the Nordics, that have visited us,
Hmm.
come from the Taygeta star system. So
Hmm. Hmm.
that was interesting. Obviously, if debates about, um, you know, the different types of ETs that are coming here, and of course that's being discussed with the disclosures that are happening in the States.
Sorry, I just said at the top there, Billy called on the Plagarium.
Yes.
But yeah, I've heard again I've heard all these terms, and a lot of my viewers will find this very very fascinating.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that is to me, again, I've always been fascinated by Carlos Diaz, the with the plasma craft
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
Leopardland, and there's like 12,000 people in that village, including the mayor, who have all seen them, all speak out on camera that they've seen these objects. But Billy Meyer, again, there's obviously, as ever, the media talks about hoaxing and stuff, but the amount of people that the photographs he had, the film footage, the witnesses,
Mm,
and sort of mainstream reachers, that even Shirley MacLaine from the States who went over to see him, felt completely assured that he was genuine.
mm.
And the photographs he had hundreds of photographs of the classic sort of sports model craft that they were coming in.
Right.
And well, important while we're discussing this, what blew me away is that when he first saw them, met these people in sort of mid 70s, they were saying that with their beam ships, as they called them, they could get from 500 light years in 7 hours. But by the time in the early 80s, when the contact stopped, they'd got a new craft that they said could get here from Taygeta in 7 minutes.
Wow.
And again,
Yeah.
tell that to a mainstream astronomer or people in physics, and they
People
say
in
it's
the
impossible.
military and
But
stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but that's the point. I mean, like um, those the witnesses that are coming out, the whistleblowers, this sort of secret space program. I mean, they know full well that you can travel vast distances, but it's going beyond nuts and bolts rockets. You can
Absolutely. We're talking
walk.
energetics and
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So that's the last slide. Just put it on there so it appears because there's a list if anyone's interested of the main researchers and
Mm.
photographers, etc. But I'll stop sharing.
That's absolutely just. I'm blown away. I was.
Great.
That was absolutely fantastic, Alan, and you should be giving that presentation all over the world.
Ah, bless you. Thank you.
Truly,
Thank you.
and I truly mean that. Like, I know a lot of my viewers, all my viewers are going to absolutely love that. I've got a lot of
Uh,
people who are into disclosure. I'm so glad that someone like you is doing this work because obviously I'm interested and I want to see more. I mean, apparently we've had a record amount of crop circles this year.
well, yeah. I mean, there were about 20, but I mean
Mm.
in the past we used to have like 100 a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean,
Interesting.
they were just nearly every day. That's why,
Wow.
people used to say, well, why is it, why that area in southern England,
Yeah, yeah.
and the, one of the only, well, there were several answers to would give, which was one is that, it's very powerful ley lines and the megalithic sites. There's military sites, but there are all over the world. Um, the This was a very sacred landscape, of course,
Mhm.
but the feeling was that there had to be one area that was consistent enough that people could make the effort to come every year, which they
Mm,
did. So
mm,
some people, would come from Japan, from obviously Europe,
mm,
Norway, the States particularly, and they could stay a week or whatever, or 6 months, knowing they were going to get to see these formations. So if it had been literally scattered all over the world, I don't think we could have collated it into such a picture and had all
right.
those sort of paranormal aspects as well. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's absolutely fantastic, and I'm so honoured you've come on and
thank you,
done
mate.
that. Truly,
Thank you.
it's one of the probably the best presentation I've seen on crop circles, and I've seen a
Oh,
few. Comprehensive, and just the evidence is there. You're on the ground doing the research.
thank you very much.
Are you open for people to contact you and ask for more, or even ask you to be on their shows and things like
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you've got the links that I just showed you at the bottom was my email, or my website, which has got my email in it anyway, or whether you
Yeah,
put links at the bottom of.
I will put everything in the description. All your details will be in there. I encourage
Okay.
people to get in touch with you. I mean, like I say, you should be going all over the world giving that presentation.
Thank you. That's
I
very
think
kind.
it's one of the most physically evident aspects of disclosure that's been going on for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's almost as if there's been like a phase of,
Yeah.
of them making contact, and this is one
Yeah.
of the phases, I believe.
Yeah.
And
I,
and I think they're the ones who are for us, the ones who are here to help. I
I
truly
think so.
believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really thank you for that, because that's a very it's the perfect way of seeing it, because that's how we felt, especially once you started to see the SETI communications.
Mm,
Um, it's like, why isn't the world seeing, looking at this? I mean,
yeah.
this is clearly a response, but because it always kept pushing. I mean, as an example, we gave a talk in 1998. We did a conference in the Alton Barnes area, at the
Hmm, hmm.
with leading researchers there. The I won't say who it was, but one of the mainstream TV corporations came. So we were sort of grateful that they were coming in. They filmed us. It's obvious they were doing the Country File program, and they had a quick chat with the researchers, and then we saw them go off with, at that time, what were known as the main hoaxers.
Mm,
So they went off with the hoaxers. A farmer was paid a certain amount of money, and they did the hoaxing of a formation. Not bad, looked reasonable.
mhm.
But that then a couple of weeks later came out on that. That's a mainstream program about farming and for farmers and stuff. It certainly was at the time,
Mhm.
and environmental issues, things like that. So they'd completely sort of dismissed the real research and gone with the hoaxers, and that's how it went on. While we were seeing stuff like that you've seen
Right.
tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's so common in the realm of disclosure where the powers that were, as I like to call them,
That's good.
you will go into like a phenomena happens, and they will go in and try and recreate it and just cause massive distractions.
Yeah,
Which is why I love how complex these ones got. It was as if like it was a big middle finger to them.
yeah,
Just like, you ain't going to be doing this one, are you? You
yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And I love that.
it was very sublime. It was, yeah,
That's
yeah.
fantastic. Right, well, Alan, thank you so much for joining me, and I will
Pleasure.
have you on again to talk about the Turin Shroud and anything
That'd be
else you
great.
want, because I think you're a great communicator, and that
Thank
was
you.
just fantastic. And thank you so much for joining me. And like I say, all your
Pleasure.
contact details will be in the
Okay.
description.
And thank you, Craig, for what you're doing as well. And obviously Justin, who passed me
Put us
over
together,
to.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Bless
That's
you, mate.
fantastic. Yeah, no, thank you, and we'll have you on again soon.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
but for
Cheers,
now,
mate.
goodbye.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye bye.